So we're just going to give you an update on what we've been doing with our program, which is working in the family violence area. And family violence has always made up a large proportion of what we do at the Community Legal Centre. The Community Legal Centre was established after a campaign by 3 local organisations. One of those was what's become the Centre for Non-Violence. So they provide the outreach service for women who are experiencing family violence. So it's always been quite a big proportion of our work, up to a third. And then since we've established this program, it's up to almost a half now of the legal work we do. We have outreach services at 5 courts in this area, which is Bendigo, Maryborough, Kyneton, Echuca and Swan Hill. And in the Goulburn Valley, we go to Cobram, Seymour, and we've now established a service at Shepparton Court as well. We'd always since the establishment of the outreach service at the local courts, there hadn't been any specific funding for that service. So in 2008, Pete had a volunteer do a report on the work that we do in family violence and looking at how we can do that better and what needs are not being met, hadn't been met at that time. And the recommendations of that report were that to meet that need, that we needed a comprehensive strategy for people working in the family violence area in this region, that specialist funding for a service for our office be sought so that we could have family violence dedicated positions at the CLC, that we engage better with the Aboriginal community to address the shortfalls in the services for them, and that we seek partnerships with our local organisations to extend our services into the neighbouring catchment areas so that we're able to reach all the courts in our region. In 2011, the Legal Services Board had a specialist round of funding that was about family violence, and on the basis of that report, Pete applied for funding and we got funded for a 3-year program, and that's employed me and Courtney. And Courtney's going to take you through some of the aims of our project.
There's a number of broad aims for the project, and they include increasing legal solutions that support outcomes preferred by women, achieving timely, effective and appropriate legal services across the region, increasing the knowledge of health professionals concerning legal interventions and the health benefits of timely legal interventions, improved health outcomes for victims of family violence through early identification and referral for legal interventions, improved health joined up services between relevant health, legal and social services, appropriate, effective and increased legal assistance services to Indigenous communities, increased in knowledge of service users, service providers and the community, generally about the range of legal interventions available that can be used to address family violence, and an evaluation report against project concepts, elements, objectives and activities. So a fair bit. And the project's now in its 2nd year. We've achieved a number of goals at this point that we're quite proud of. And some of the standouts are about we have increased, as Bonnie's mentioned previously, the number of court sites we currently deliver legal assistance to. We've created a family violence outcomes survey as part of our survey to identify preferred and actual outcomes of clients over time. So over 130 surveys from women who've experienced family violence that CLC have supported at court for intervention orders have been completed to date, and we expect that we'll be completing more into next year. There's been a survey also created and delivered to over 170 health workers across the region, and that includes general practitioners, psychologists, social workers, to gauge their knowledge of family violence and legal interventions and options. And we've actually received 52 surveys back from them to date and anticipate that we'll continue to receive more. We've also delivered many community legal education sessions on family violence and the range of legal interventions which can be utilised to a broad range of groups and networks. We continue to receive a lot of requests for us to deliver community legal education. There's active participation from us as an organisation in local family violence networks and projects. And we've formulated and established formal relationships with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander stakeholders and organisations to deliver legal outreach advice sessions at Aboriginal cooperative sites, including a wills session which we delivered earlier this year to Bendigo District Aboriginal Cooperative. We've got a number of aims for next year as well, and we're interested to complete the remainder of interviews with women. So now we're progressing to doing in-depth interviews with women, and we're going to undertake an analysis of the interview content. We really look forward to highlighting the stories and the journeys of some of the women that we've been able to interview. We're going to be creating training content for GPs and health professionals to undertake to identify family violence and appropriate referral pathways and opportunities for legal intervention. We're going to continue to participate in family violence networks and continue to deliver community legal education. And now Bonnie's going to talk a little bit more about some of the central elements of the project.
So really central to this project wasn't just delivering more services, it was looking at whether the services that are available and the legal options for women are meeting their needs. So as Courtney was saying, it's in two parts. We're doing a survey to begin with, and then we're going to be doing interviews with the women. We've established the survey already, and we undertake that with the women that come to court that we're assisting. So the family violence legislation in Victoria is really fantastic. It provides broader protections than similar legislation in other jurisdictions. So it could be seen as, a model legislation. But the question we're looking at is whether the promises of that legislation have really come to fore. So what we want to do is ask whether women's experience of the justice system, how they have experienced it, what they found when they arrive at court, but also whether what's on offer from the justice system is what they are after. So we it's a one-page survey. We wanted to make it as sort of straightforward and not kind of a burden for our clients, because it's a pretty stressful day anyway. We've divided it into two parts. The beginning part is why they've come to court, what they think they can achieve from getting an intervention order, and so looking at different elements of that, and Courtney will take you through that, the results from that. And then the second half is just their experience of the court environment, of our service and of the police and anyone else they might have encountered through the service system. So we've collected over 130 so far, and Courtney's just going to go through some of the results that we've found from that so far.
So we wanted to highlight that we've got our interim project results printed in an interim project report. There's hard copies available here today, and you're welcome to have one if you haven't already picked one up, but we also have that available electronically. The interim project report has actually identified a number of findings from the project so far, including some of the interim survey results which Bonnie's mentioned. In the first section of the survey, we asked women to consider, today I came to court because I wanted, and out of the 13 questions asked in the initial section of the survey, the questions which ranked in the top 3 responses from women to be very much included over 90% of women wanted their concerns for safety to be heard and respected. Over 70% of women wanted to make their children safer. Nearly 70% of women wanted to begin to heal from the harm that has been caused. Over 65% of women ranked very much for his behaviour to be monitored, and some women have also anecdotally said that they would like him to be forced to attend a behaviour change program. Nearly 65% of women have ranked very much for him to acknowledge the harm he has done. Just under 60% of women ranked very much for him to be challenged about his behaviour. Over 50% of women selected very much that they came to court to end or have closure on their former relationship. Over 50% of women also ranked not at all in response to the question, to maintain my relationship. Many women also provided information to us to emphasise that they didn't want the relationship to continue. Over 20% of women ranked this response also as very much, with a further 10% of women selecting the response option somewhat neutral. It's important for us to be showcasing in this interim project report the range of responses that women actually come up with. A lot of time when you're supporting women at court, lots of people have connotations about what it is that a client needs or that a client wants. It's really important for us to be highlighting through these data results what it is that women are actually saying they want. We asked women also to rank the option, I want him to be punished, and over 30% of women selected very much for this, with over 20% ranking their response neutral and also over 20% not at all. So there are some interim conclusions that we can look at arising from some of these results. A large proportion of women have indicated they want to heal from the harm that has occurred. Women wanted their partner or former partner's behaviour to be monitored, and a large proportion of women wanted him to acknowledge the harm that he had done. It'll be worthy of further exploration from us in the follow-up interviews with women when they had noticed that these 3 responses ranked highly in their motivation to come to court, whether they actually felt a sense of these things being achieved through the responses in the justice system. If women do not feel that these experiences have given them these preferred outcomes, it indicates a significant disconnect, and it'll be worth considering what other processes could better achieve these outcomes and what that might look like. In this next phase of the project, we're at the moment currently undertaking in-depth interviews with women, and we're aiming to have completed 10 interviews by the end of the year. And in the lead up of conducting the interviews, we reflected on the need to increase the opportunities for other means of consumer participation in this stage of the project and to further highlight women's voices. So we engaged women from the Peer Education Support Program from the Council to Homeless Persons who had actually experienced family violence, and they provided us feedback into the interview question stage and the formulation of those interview questions. It also gave us a further insight into our methodology and allowed us an opportunity to further embed consumer voices into our project. Some of these interim results also indicate that there are opportunities for further development and improvement for women's experiences at court. We've also identified a number of policy issues which you're welcome to read into the interim project report. Because what we know for some women is that the pertinent question may not be or only be, why didn't you ask? But for a lot of them, it's why didn't you listen? And it's timely to consider whether there are other processes that could have helped and could help women, including restorative or therapeutic process, for example, and the practices of lawyers working with women who experience family violence. Asking women who have experienced family violence, what is it that you want out of today? It's a simple but effective opportunity to give women a voice for their experiences. This interim project report has given us an opportunity to capture some media attention as well, and we're interested to use our continuing research results as an ongoing lobbying tool and opportunity, and to highlight the opportunities for change for an effective response to women and children experiencing family violence. The funding for Why Didn't You Ask ends in early 2015, and we would like to highlight the results of the project to government and for them to be utilised and taken on board as an opportunity for systemic changes to occur. Thank you.